From a tractor smart enough to drive itself to a prototype machine that'll get rid of all those weeds for you, let's talk about the best farming equipment you'll need to save time and money, like John Deere's self-driving tractor. Agricultural equipment manufacturer John Deere is heck-bent on changing the farming industry as we know it. They've announced their latest tech, a mixed package of hardware and software that uses machine learning and GPS to operate a fully autonomous tractor. Now, folks have been working on autonomous farming for quite some time now, but this fully self-driving tractor will completely change the game and be a huge step towards people-less farming. John Deere claims that with this tech, farmers will not only be able to leave the tractor, but they'll be able to leave the field altogether. In other words, if you're a farmer, you can do whatever you want while your tractor does your work for you. And no, you won't have to constantly go to the field to make sure everything's okay, because you'll be able to do that from your phone. And yeah, this is not a demo or a concept. Just take a look at what the company itself said when talking about this in 2022. This is not a demo. It's not a concept machine. It's something we've had in the field with farmers for years, and we will be taking to production in the fall of 2022. Hearing about this all of a sudden might make you feel as if all of this is a bit too unexpected. But what you've got to know is that the farming world has made more progress with autonomous tech than fancy startups or even automakers. That doesn't mean these folks know something we don't, it's just a lot simpler to develop this technology for farming. Because when you compare it to driving, running a tractor doesn't need nearly as many variables as running a car would. Point is, a tractor will just have to follow set lines and not worry about pedestrians or other users on the road. Okay, we've got that out of the way. Let's talk about how this tractor actually works. The company's autonomous kit includes 6 pairs of stereo cameras that capture a 360-degree view of everything around the tractor. The data is then fed to an algorithm, which detects obstacles. And yeah, that's literally it. All you need to do is take it to the field, get it set, get on your phone, and just swipe to farm. And while this is autonomous, you need to know that humans will still be in the loop. You'll need to return to give it fuel or move it from field to field. But that'll just be every 8 hours. That, though, isn't all the human involvement needed with this system. When the algorithm finds something that it believes is super unusual, images from the cameras will be sent to teleoperators, real people sitting, checking photos to see if it's a false positive or if the problem has been resolved. If it happens to be a real problem, these folks will communicate that to the farmer from the mobile app. The farmer will also be sent the images that the camera took to see if the problem needs attention or not. This is what the company had to say about the algorithm. We've trained the algorithm to know that those are birds flying. You don't have to stop for birds. But if you have, say, a dog in the field, then we'll stop. The company also stated that it doesn't always want to alert the farmer, because the entire value of this tech is to let them focus on other tasks at hand. So while you will get alerts, you won't be getting them all the time. And all this really does seem too good to be true, right? That's because it is. So the problem here is, this system can't handle all of the aspects of tractor work right now. For the moment, John Deere is focusing on tillage, which is the preparation of soil for cultivation. In other words, it can dig, it can remove crop residue, and it can plow the field. The reason why John Deere is focusing on these aspects is because these jobs are usually done around harvest time, so the farmers might actually want to focus on more important tasks at hand. This makes the focus on tillage a perfect target for autonomous work. Regardless of its shortfalls, it's still something super cool and something to look forward to. However, this isn't the only thing you need to be excited about when it comes to farming, because John Deere has created something else that's, well, kind of amazing. I'm talking about AI-integrated sprayers. In the summer of 2021, John Deere released its AI-integrated See and Spray technology. This system, like the one we talked about earlier, uses vision, machine learning, and robotics. It uses this tech to identify weeds and crops. How does it do this? Well, it has 2 sets of cameras that calibrate 20 times per second. Once the sprayer identifies the weed, The system then dispenses a small amount of herbicide, fungicide, or fertilizer on the weed to maximize crop yield. Now, the reason why you should get your hands on something like this is because it reduces the application rate of whatever it's applying by 77%. Not only does this reduce costs, though, but it's also good for the environment. However, the folks over at John Deere aren't the only ones out there revolutionizing farming, because the folks over at Edet are doing a pretty good job too. Okay, how many times have you heard "save the bees"? And you know what? Whoever told you this was right. If anything, we should be told this every single day. The world's honeybee population is falling drastically, and that's not a good sign for humanity. The interesting thing is, bees can only work in certain conditions. For example, the temperature needs to be around 15 degrees Celsius or 59 degrees Fahrenheit, and there shouldn't be any rain either. Yet 75% of the world's crops rely on animal pollination, so there's a massive problem when it comes to pollination, and how that affects the food that we eat. So, what did Edet Precision Technologies do? They've created an artificial pollination solution. They've basically created robots that act like bees, harvest pollen, and then distribute it. The company has tested out its robots in pistachio orchards, and turns out they increase the yield by 24%. Not only does this mean more food for all of us, but it also means more money for farmers. But there's another piece of equipment that's got the potential to save humanity, and that's Equinox Drones' aerial imaging drones. Picture this. You're a farmer and you've got acres upon acres of land. Now, you need to inspect it for insect damage, nutrient deficiencies, invasive species, and crop yield estimates. You have two options here. Go around the fields yourself, spending hours and hours, or you can just hire more people. But that's going to be extremely expensive, isn't it? And they just might not be as efficient as machines. Well, there's a third option too. Aerial drones. These aerial drones do the work for you. And they do it well. These drones use orthomosaic maps, 3D point clouds, digital models, and contour maps to collect data. And like almost everything I'm talking about in this video, the data is then fed to an algorithm. And then it gives out a report on where the problems are and what the problems are. This means that farmers can now make better decisions about their work. Now that's going to save a lot of time and money and increase food production. Let's say you decided to use these drones and you find out you've got a lot of weeds, and you just can't figure out how to get them all out. Well, that's exactly what Nexus Robotics' weeding robot will help you out with. I mean, this isn't some super complicated high-tech equipment, but nonetheless, it's equipment that'll save you time and cash. The robot can accurately detect and remove weeds from the field. And yeah, I did call the tech not super complicated, right? Well, it isn't, but it still uses deep learning algorithms and cameras. With the help of these two things, the robots can differentiate between weeds and crops, so it only sprays pesticides and herbicides where they are needed. Not only that, though, but it also does this with extreme precision. This means that it reduces the pesticides and herbicides being used, and it prevents herbicide-resistant weeds. It can also remove any weeds without damaging any crop. That's not all though, because it also collects data about the crop's growing conditions. This means that farmers are then better informed when making decisions. There is a slight problem though. This tech isn't available yet. Well, there you have it. From a prototype machine that's gonna get rid of all the weeds for you, to a tractor smart enough to drive itself, these were the best farming equipment that you need to save time and money.